Um, Actually, at the moment, you're looking at my father's shelves. So I am in my hometown of Houston, Texas,
All
visiting, but I
right.
now live in Buffalo, New York.
Cool. Cool.
So it's kind of an apropos location at the moment. So very good place to be interviewing you about your hometown project.
Right.
So welcome to you, Marty, and thank you for speaking to me here on Star Tracy Talks Film. But also, I talk a lot about the importance of bringing people together on my other project, The Pebble. And so this was like a double win for me because I am so touched about what you are trying to do about bringing people together, about, you know, we all have a hometown and you start people talking about it and all of the recent stuff that seems to have built up just drops away and because it all gets us back to where we were. So I would love to just turn the floor over to you and let you tell my viewers a little bit about what you're trying to do, both with your hometown project with Ken Burns, and then this great new lead into classic films, which I love over at TCM, which is the hometown films thing. So please.
Well, the honor your hometown concept came by way of a friend of mine named Dan McGinn, who's a Washington guy, whose hometown is a cool place called Nitro, West Virginia. I thought that's pretty good.
I love it.
And Ken Burns, Ken introduced Dan and I, and Dan McGinn came to my hometown of Philadelphia, Mississippi, a couple of years ago. He had never been to Mississippi. The only thing he knew about Mississippi was what he had read, heard. And as my friend Chancellor Kayat at Ole Miss used to say, Mississippi's usually at the top of all the wrong lists and the bottom of the right ones, by way of perception and reality sometimes. But Dan came down there, felt the love, felt the hospitality, went, I've been wrong all my life, and went home and started thinking. And so he called me one day and said, I live in room after room of supercharged emotions in Washington, of division. And he said, the other day I was so burnt out with it, I just started asking people about their hometowns. And as you said, the air just started settling down, peace returned to the room, and everybody started telling stories. And then all of a sudden, everybody was just American people again.
Yeah.
And I went, there you go. That's golden. And so here goes the Honor Your Hometown campaign. And a friend of mine who's the visual curator at the Library of Congress, Rob Stone, I called Rob and said, do you know anybody at Turner Classic Films? He said, I do. And I says, I want to know about it. And so I talked to Charles Tabesh, told him what we were doing. I said, would it be possible, because I'm the biggest Turner Classic Movies buff in the world. I said, can I come on your show? I love all of your hosts. They're like family. I'll show you in our bus right now.
Yeah, I love
Turner
it.
Classic Movies stays on all the time. And so one night I was writing songs, and I looked up and Alicia Malone was on the screen. And I just wrote, God bless Alicia Malone, and wrote some lines down. And 3 or 4 months later, I looked at those lines and said, let me finish that. And we recorded a song called God Bless Alicia Malone and just sent it to her as a postcard, and sent Charles Tabesh the song. And the next thing I know, I'm asking if I could just come and knock on their door and sit down and talk about films. And it somehow worked out. But the synergy between my hometown, every hometown has a story, good, bad, and indifferent. My hometown had a rough 4 or 5 decades since 1964. The movie Mississippi Burning, all that happened in my hometown.
Oh, wow.
And as we have put the Congress of Country Music back together and the Honor Your Hometown concept together, the main word has been healing and love. And every time that we have a ceremony in Philadelphia, Mississippi, the Choctaws, which are on the edge of town, the Native Americans, a Black prayer, a Native American prayer, a white people prayer, they've all gone up into the air. And when we opened the Congress of Country Music Phase 1 last December, all of those people were represented, and everybody sat where they wanted to in the theater. And it was about healing, and it was about love. And as we have moved forward, it has been by those standards, and we will never dip below those standards, because that's what it's all about.
Well, see, now I'm ready to cry, and I'm ready to visit Philadelphia, Mississippi. I mean, I'm not even kidding. That's amazing, and I think that it brings us to the thing, not just the walk in another man's shoes, but if you could see a person's home through their eyes. It's so easy to judge from the outside. And but see, I don't know much about Mississippi. But I'm in love with Philadelphia now through your eyes. I see it. I saw Mississippi Burning many years ago. I could have thought of Philadelphia, Mississippi through those eyes. But my father grew up in Vidor, Texas. I know a whole lot of people have a whole lot of feelings about Vidor, Texas. He has lots of different feelings because of where he grew up, and he's also seen changes they made. People don't want, if they listen to him, they would have a lot of different feelings. But it's a great thing what you're doing to allow people to share their stories and see the hometowns through their eyes and to rebuild them from that space. So I just think that's amazing. And when I watched, Picnic is one of my all-time favorite movies. So I loved that was where y'all kicked it off from. And then Facing the Crowd, that's such a forgotten gem.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's so prescient right now. So I love the movie project. I love that you wrote a song and sent it to her. That's just dynamite. And I told my parents I was going to interview you. They were like, "We know him. I know him. I know him." So all around good vibes from this house from before this interview. But I think we need more of this dialogue of listen to each other where they really are coming from the base of where they are, because nobody really knows the person until they know the life they lived, and that influences so many of their choices and why they feel the way they do. You got to get down to that hometown, that heart, that why the little baby steps, literally the baby steps that created them. So thank you.
Well, in my case, it helps to have music out front. Music is a powerful tool to work with. So is film.
Yeah.
Hollywood, that's something that, I understand. My buddy, Billy Bob Thornton, he's still, he said, I have to do me an asteroid film every now and then to make the films that I want to. But film and music are so powerful. They can influence people so deeply. And you have to be careful, because it's almost like a weapon. And you can aim that weapon in so many different ways, and it can affect people's lives. And so whether it's a song or a film or a book or anything to do with creativity. So I think we have to be mindful that as we move forward. And what you said about listening to people. When I play a show, there's two sides. There's people looking at me, and then I also can see it from my perspective, looking at them. And you can almost read somebody and tell what's going on in their life sometimes. And you can tell if there's pain in their face. If it was an awful day and they just came to a show to get it over with. And our job is to lift them above that, hopefully, and inspire them to get back in there and go for it. I don't know, back in those Mississippi days of the early 1960s, our home was really filled with love and music. And that was my hometown. Most everybody I knew, that was just the most peaceful, genteel hometown. And all of a sudden, our society and our lives were absolutely turned upside down by a handful of radicals and racists. And the entire world drew down on that town. But beyond all that, as a kid, I look back and I think about the school bus I rode. I look back, like when you walk up on the school bus in the morning and look into the face of all those children that, we were in grade school or kindergarten together. Years later, I thought about, you never know what was going on in their homes. good, bad, or whatever. And then that's the thing. And I think that's no different today. When you walk into a bus full of kids, there's a lot of stuff going on in people's homes and dynamics that from the outside world. And if it's not a healthy environment, it can cause for somebody unhappy times. But loves the word, loves the word.
Well, I know we're wrapping up, but I have to agree with you on the music. My husband and I took our children to a concert last night of our band that we fell in love with, wrote our life story to all these last almost the 40 years of, music. And we were in a stadium full with people, and I'm sure we were all, different thoughts and political and whatever. And we were singing together, and we were brought together, and I remember having that moment of thinking, I don't know what these people's Facebook statuses or whatever are, all the things that times lately have seemed so divisive. And I knew I was going to be talking to you today, and I had watched what you had talked about being divided. And but music is something that can bring people together. We were all singing the lyrics back at each other, full throated, and it was almost worship in a way. Like it was that kind of like coming together as a communal type event, and my heart was just very full. And I was thinking, I'm sure you've had moments like that where you're like, this is what it's about. This is something that's more than a moment. This is what we're supposed to do as humans. And it felt very good. And I had carried what I'd learned about you coming into this. And I wanted to share that with you, that I think that's a good thing you do as a musician. And I really like what you're trying to do with your project. And I wanted to thank you for that.
Well, I don't think as people we were designed to hate each other.
No, not at all.
Sometimes we have to put up with each other, but that's where love and
we don't always have to like each other, but we're not meant to hate each other. And I do think we are meant to take care of each other and be neighbors.
I agree.
Well, I really appreciate what you're doing. I love the show. I really do love the show. And I thank you for your time, and keep up the good work. And thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the talk. Get home safely. All right.
I shall.
Is that a picture of you in the baby frame up there on the shelf behind you?
Oh, funny story. My mom thought that was me, so she put it there. It's my cousin who's her goddaughter. I said, Mama, that's not me. She said, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. But it's still cute, and I love her. So I said she could leave it.
Excellent. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too. Bye now.